Shell, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Scott, for having me. I'm pleasure to be here.
Now, I see that you have a master's degree in counseling psychology, and you're also a coach, and you also have an extensive background in being an HR director.
That is correct.
Now, I'm always curious about the connection between the counseling degree and the work that you would do there and also coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about the connection between the two and the differences?
Yeah, so that's a great question. A lot of people have asked me that. When you're a coach, you don't have as many stringent guidelines as you are when you're a therapist, right? So when you are a therapist, you have specific guidelines and rules by the state that you are in as a therapist because you're licensed, right? As a life coach or a strategy coach, or executive coach like you are, we don't have the stringent guidelines that we have to follow. We have a little more free form and a little more area to perfect our craft. And I really like the life coaching a lot better. I don't like to diagnose people and put them in categories where they own that and it becomes a negative for people.
I noticed on your website, you mentioned that there are situations where you would feel right to to refer that person for therapy. What would be the
So
situation there?
there's several situations. If somebody is, experiencing traumatic situations where they can't cope on a daily basis, or maybe they're suicidal, or maybe that severe depression, or something a little more uh, intense, where you need that extra therapeutic push and some more medical attention. I would definitely direct somebody in that area, which I have background in, so I'm pretty compelled to say, hey, you know what, let's have a conversation and get you some help. And I do referrals, so I would get somebody the help they needed.
And that's the ethical thing to do for someone in a coaching position,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
What is the difference between the Master's in Counseling Psychology and the LMHC?
What is a LMHC?
Isn't that licensed mental health counselor?
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but
Okay, it's a different.
I think it's probably just the degree and probably levels of accepting clients and panels of insurance companies you can get on. Not every um, degree qualifies you to get on certain insurance panels. Like my master's degree limited me. Um, when you have a doctorate degree, you can get an all insurance panel. So there's different insurance panels that, strategically limit you on who you can help. And that's why I think the life coaching is also a huge benefit, because that removes that limitation, because it's a cash-based clientele.
Is life coaching billable?
No, it's not.
So is
No.
that, I wonder if life coaches also go into the counseling to have that certification to be able to bill? Like I'm a music therapist, and the same thing goes for me with music therapy not being billable, just like
Okay.
life coaching, but like a LMHC or the counseling part would be.
Okay, yeah. So it just depends on each state has different criteria of what you can bill and what you can't bill. I know Michigan's very, very stringent on what you can and cannot bill. So I think the life coaching for me in Michigan actually is, it opens so many more doors. I don't want to tell somebody I can't help you because I don't accept your insurance. That's kind of like deterrent for, referrals or helping people. That really limits you and your reach of how many people you can help, and the people that really need help. And that's kind of a deterrent for everyone.
Right. It seems like the big challenge is the financial piece when someone wants
Yes.
to. If it was covered, they would say, sure, let's have some life coaching, but
Exactly. It opens so many more doors when you have the flexibility to how many people you can help and who you can help. And if you have a specific area of expertise, sometimes if you are a therapist, it kind of pigeonholes you into specific areas of what you can and cannot do. And so I really like the flexibility of being able to help way more, populations and um, age groups for different people.
are most of your coaching client contracts long-term or short-term?
That is a great question. Most of them are short term. It is set up to be short term. If you need long term coaching, that's obviously an option, but I don't think you know that right out of the gate. And I think that's something that you build that rapport and that relationship to see what your goals are and where you want to go. But most times it's very short term, depending on the person.
And you would probably focus on just situational coaching, like someone has a problem with this and they want some coaching on that. Would that be the start of it usually?
Absolutely. So I give them a questionnaire and, kind of gauge what their goals are and what they've already have figured out and what their next steps are. And sometimes you can get a really a lot accomplished. And that's the whole point of being a strategic therapist or strategic life coach, is to get them to the steps where they can have liftoff and use those strategies on their own. So you're not dependent on one person to say, oh, what do I do next? I want to give people the capacity to make those next steps for themselves. What a great tool if they can do that.
So they can generalize for their other problems.
Yes, exactly. You
Great.
got it.
Do you follow, I know that you have a book that you're excited about, and we're going to talk about that too. Do you have a curriculum that you follow in coaching, or would that be your book?
Sometimes I use my book. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I create specific strategies unique to that person's situation, because I think of everybody's situation as a fingerprint. They're all different, right? And so if I can give them some universal strategies that I've already written and that helps them to create maybe a more fine-tuned strategy for them, oh, that'd be great. And then sometimes I have to start from scratch, and that's okay too, because I'm learning as well. And I love that process just as much as I do if I already know a strategy to rebuild it or to utilize that. But yeah, I'm a learner at heart as well.
Are you giving your clients assignments?
Sometimes I do. I do. If they do assignments, I like to check back in, and sometimes they get stuck. And then we just go through it in the session and pull through together so they can actually get the grasp of the concept again, so they have liftoff, so they can use that concept in other situations.
Now, there's a lot of excitement about your new book, Big Bliss Blueprint, 100 Little Thoughts to Build Positive Life Changes. What was your overall plan for this book?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked. So I actually am an HR specialist, and I've done that for HR generalist for over 20 years. I'm an HR director right now. I was in a company and I was trying to help my employees and my managers who couldn't seem to get on the same page, and they weren't cohesive. There was a lot of chaos in the company, and we couldn't line our culture just right. And I started thinking of all the strategies that I used when I was a therapist and former private practice. So I started writing down these sticky notes of all the different strategies that I was able to transform and to generalize into for employees and managers to be able to actually have better conversations, to build relationships, and to create goals, and to make better decisions to align to those goals. And next thing I know, I had 100 sticky notes. And then I'm like, wow, how can I get this into a resource for everyone to use? And that's when I went home and I thought, you know what, this is a book. This is a book I'm going to write, and I'd like to share it with everybody and help them for everyday solutions. I mean, it's nothing complicated. I don't want it to be complicated. The book is intended to be very simplistic in nature. You can flip to any page to get a strategy out of the 100 strategies. It is divided into 8 sections. So if you want to focus on, relationships, there's pages designated to that. If you want to devote your time to enhancing your communication, and so forth. So I wanted to be able to give some guidance and foundations for people to actually pull from when they don't have anybody to ask at that moment in time. And let's pull out that resource. So some people are embarrassed to ask. So if they have a resource, they can use it. That'd be a win for me.
That's great. Chapter 7 or section 7 stuck out to me with the 1 degree shifts to navigate to your authentic true self. Can you tell us a bit about that?
That is about taking care of yourself, knowing more about your needs and putting yourself first. Sometimes we are caught up in being caregivers, especially in our profession, like we're helping other people, right? And other people are going to think of how they're helping other people, but what we do is sometimes we neglect ourselves. And if we can make tiny shifts into making ourselves more of a priority each day, whether it's getting good sleep, whether it's, um, unplugging and reorganizing your thoughts to, you know, gain perspective. And when we get, inundated with information, we got to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves so we can be 100%, so we can be authentic, so we can help other people. Because if you're not at 100%, you're not giving your best self. And you're not going to feel good about yourself.
And I love the idea of these small but important steps to not overlook those.
Yes, I think that's what we get inundated with so much information. If we can take one action step, that doesn't seem so overwhelming as when somebody gives you like 10 or 12, you're like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to do all these. But if you think I can make one shift, a 1-degree shift in a 365-day year, like just think how many shifts that will make. Like that's really significant at the end of the year. So if you think of it that way, we can do one thing per day,
The
make a
cumulative.
big difference.
How has the pandemic changed your coaching?
Yes, I do a lot of virtual coaching. I don't do any in-person coaching, which I was gearing toward that anyway. So it's kind of shifted things a bit, but it actually has given, again, more flexibility with time and availability for other people to reach me. So I think it's been great as far as that goes, but I do think that there's more need because people are struggling. They don't know how to deal with the new normal, and every day it's different, right? We don't know what to expect, what tomorrow's going to bring. So I do think it's increasing the need. So I'm happy to be able to give them more flexibility to help more people.
Are clients satisfied with the virtual meetings? Are they, are you seeing less enrollment because people would really just rather meet in person, or has it been the same or more?
It's actually been more. I think people are actually more willing to, reach out because I think we lack that connection, right? We don't get as much social interaction in person because of the pandemic. So people are now trying to adapt and what can I do, right? So if we focus on what we can do, I have seen more of an increase, but I do think that people are lacking in needing and seeking that social interaction in person. So, but I think we're just limited right now.
Right. Makes sense. Switching the gears a bit towards productivity, do you have any apps or software or technology that you rely on most for your personal productivity?
God, there's several. I still use sticky notes.
Mhm.
I still, am a firm believer when I have a thought and I want to capture it, I write it down on a piece of paper. I use Outlook a great deal because it can prioritize my task and set my calendar up, and I can move it whenever I need to, and I can put my items right in that task. So if I make appointments for myself to get certain things done, I can carve out that time for myself to make sure I get these items taken care of. That's been a huge asset. Um, and probably just, email and video chat and all the other things, to the tools that we need to communicate with other people.
Are you a journal writer?
Yes, I am.
How long has that been?
That has probably been since 2008. So I've been doing it for a very long time. And it's interesting when you are a journal writer I think it's really important to go back and look at the journal entries that you made several years ago
Hmm.
and see how far you've come from the beginning or middle to the end. Because I don't think we realize sometimes as 1-degree shifts happen in a cumulative time, how far we have come in our journey. And we don't realize it until we go back and reflect, like, man, in 2008, I was going to write a book. Well, now I did, right? So that whole journey and process has been amazing, but you don't really realize how long or short of a time span, things happen.
I haven't thought of it in that way. Do you also have your clients journal, write journal, write in their journal?
If if they are journal writers and they like to, I absolutely promote it. And if they're not journal writers, sometimes I'll tell them to email themselves or email me thoughts and things they want to talk about. Because sometimes when we capture those thoughts and they're fleeting, sometimes we don't get back to them, right? So if they can capture them in some way, whether they text themselves or, use voice texting, some type of capturing your thoughts really helps people filter out what their goals are and helps filter out what their strategies can be.
I found in the past from being part of some of the like online journals that it seems that when you read someone's thoughts, it sounds perhaps more dark or more scary than actually, like if you talk to the person, they seem just typically fine. Have you found that there's a depth to the writing
There is,
when you're
because
journal writing?
absolutely, there is context, right? So when people journal, it's actually it's for yourself, really. The whole purpose of you writing a journal is for yourself. So you're going to know what that means. But when somebody else reads it, it's their interpretation, which I've come across and found to be sometimes rather dark and kind of concerning. And then when we talk about it, when they give me their frame of reference, then you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I feel better now that I know what you're talking about, because the whole point of journaling is for the other person to understand.
Yeah, because with my time management coaching and my system that I use, I focus a lot on getting away from the surface level thinking and setting time aside to really dig in and focus in, and how valuable that resource that you can use your mind to work on problems. It seems, have you found that it takes a while with your clients to get beyond that surface level, or did they go right in deep right away?
It depends. Some people open up very quickly, and then some people have never been through the process before and they're very leery, and you have to build that relationship. So it just depends where they're at, where they're meeting you at when they come in. But on the average, most people after the second or third time you meet with them, they usually, are more willing to blossom and they're willing to open up and share more deeply, but
Hmm.
sometimes not right out of the gate.
What's a hobby that you enjoy that most people may be surprised about?
I think that would be zip lining. I
Hmm.
love to zip line. People are usually shocked when I tell them I want to skydive or zip line. I've never skydived yet,
Hmm.
but that's the next thing I want to do. I love zip lining though.
So you have a bit of adventurer in you.
I really do.
Great. Now, your husband also is a counselor. Now, do you work together, or you share the business, right? How does that work?
Yes, we do. So by day, he works in the prison in Jackson, and he teaches carpentry to inmates, and he gets them lift off to, reform and get a new skill. And then I'm an HR director by day. And then at night, in our evening and weekends, we do coaching together. Sometimes we have to do like couples counseling or like strategies for people to have better relationships and communication. We'll do that together. But right now, we are doing it individually, and then we come together when we need to, you know, kind of feed off each other with ideas of, strategies for clients. And it actually is a huge benefit to have your spouse be in the same profession and
Hmm.
building the business together. It's kind of fun.
Does he have a book also, or?
He has a book that's in process. It is not published yet.
Okay. I was just thinking you could always say that if you got in an argument, well, you don't have a
I
book.
know. I know. We do quote each other on different things though. I mean, it's kind of interesting.
That's fun. I wonder, have you ever thought, or has Paul thought to do any coaching with and the folks who are incarcerated?
Yes, he would love to. I mean, that's one of his goals, is to do that. That is something he aspires to do when the opportunity presents itself.
Hmm. Maybe I could send him my book, because I've often thought that my approach of identifying all these different hats you wear and creating your purpose, could be helpful, especially for someone who's got a lot of time on their hands.
That would be, you should send it to him. I can get it to him, or I can give you his information. He would love to read it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I've got one final question for you, Shell. What's one powerful action step that our listeners can take to help them live a joyful, productive, and fulfilling life?
I would recommend your listeners to give a token of appreciation to one person each day. That token can be, and you can you do it for yourself as well. A token can be like, giving a text message or a phone call or email or thinking of someone, doing something kind, some type of token of appreciation to someone they don't expect it. Not when they expect it, but when they don't expect it. And do that for yourself as well, because we have to treat ourselves with love and kindness as well. So I would challenge everybody to think about every day doing something kind and thoughtful for someone else.
That's awesome. I think our listeners have benefited a lot from everything that you've said. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Scott, for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Great. Hi there, this is the All the Hats We Wear podcast. This show will teach you the time management skills you need to be joyful, productive, and fulfilled. This is episode 33. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. We have Shell Phelps on the show today. Shell Phelps is a SHRM certified professional as a human resources director and co-founder of Phelps Strategies, where she is a strategic life coach. She holds a master's in counseling psychology and previously ran her own private therapy practice. As a strategic life coach, Shell focuses on solution-based strategies to help her clients get through life's greatest challenges and live happier and more fulfilled lives. She has also been inducted into the International Society of Female Professionals. Shell is the author of the popular book, The Big Bliss Blueprint, 100 Little Thoughts to Build Positive Life Changes. Let's give a warm welcome to Shell. You're meant to do great things. If you want to be an innovator and visionary, you have to manage your busy life like one. The All the Hats We Wear planner is the planner for the future. I want to give you a free month of the planner to try out for yourself. Nothing will slip through the cracks anymore. When you use the All the Hats We Wear planner, you'll have everything you need at your fingertips. All of your goals, a vision statement, a list of daily habits, and a checklist to track your progress. Key information for the small and large projects on your plate. Daily sheets to clarify your top outcomes for each day. A week at a glance section to plan for the coming weeks, and much more. The All the Hats We Wear planner will be your roadmap to a more joyful, productive, and fulfilling life. To claim your free month so you can see for yourself how it will streamline your busy life, visit allthehatswewear.com.